Yo guys, it's Red Marvel here, back again with another review. This time we're going to be reviewing Sonic Prime, a series review, but with the emphasis more so on the recent Season 3 release. Obviously, there are going to be spoilers, so if you haven't watched Sonic Prime or Season 3, there are spoilers for this. Spoilers again, spoilers. So, just letting you guys know. So before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, to like, share, and subscribe to Red Marvel. Also on Twitter and Twitch, links on the description. So let's get into this. Now, I'll say this, and I'll say as a Sonic fan, that for me, this is certainly one of the best Sonic shows in my personal opinion. I think it has got a lot of slack because of the characterization of Sonic. But to be honest, for me, one of my criticisms that I've had of Sonic in game and also sometimes in his cartoon series is that there's not a lot that's allowed him to grow. He's just seen as quite a static, the designated hero. He's always there for everybody, and that's great. I'm good. I think that's a great characterization of a hero. But this cartoon really focused more so on Sonic's ability for growth. Now, Sonic Boom kind of, I think, was a good characterization. Obviously, you had the heroic element, but Sonic also was a little bit of a nuisance sometimes. So I get that. I think probably people like that. But for me, for something that was going to be, but Sonic Boom wasn't story driven. For something that's got to be story driven, for me, you've got to have development. You've got to have growth, and you have a character in Sonic who, obviously, essentially, this is essentially his mess by shattering the paradox system without thinking first, growing throughout the season to realize that no, he's got to stop. He's got to think. He's got to rely more on his friends, and you see that growth, and you see the fulfillment of that growth at the end of the season. And for me, that was good, and that's why I say for me it's one of the better Sonic shows today. One of the best in my personal opinion. Remember, this is on season 3. Obviously, instead of Robotnik, Dr. Eggman being the main villain, we're led to believe that now it's actually 9. Who's obviously alternate version of Tails, who essentially is the main overarching villain of this season. Obviously, and that can be tied to Sonic. Essentially 9 feeling betrayed and feeling that Prime Sonic used him to get what he wanted, essentially decides to use the other, the Grim, and wants to terraform that to make it his paradise with his robot mechanisms and what have you. And essentially he leaves Sonic and Shadow to their fate on the Ghost World. Now, thankfully, Sonic and Shadow are able to leave the Ghost World. They confront 9 and the Grim. Initially, 9 pushes them back with these robotized versions using the power of the prism to harness it. But then you come to realize that actually, even though 9 has assembled the prism together, he still needs the prism energy from Sonic to be able to fully realize his vision. Now, one of the things that I love about the show so much is the characterization of Shadow the Hedgehog. 2024 hopefully will be the year of Shadow the Hedgehog, man. Excellent characterization Prime. Hopefully a game coming out in the year, and then the movie at the end of the year, which is going to be boss, man. It's going to be boss. Seeing Shadow, man, it's going to be boss. And I love my characterization here. I mean, what I would say characterization with Sonic and Shadow here is almost like Batman and Superman. I think that's the closest way you can see it, like where, clearly they have a respect for each other. They obviously confront each other. Obviously, you see the conflict between Sonic and Shadow in the second season, given that Shadow holds Sonic accountable. Shadow does give Batman vibes, almost. The kind of like, I don't trust him, I don't trust 9. Look, I told you not to trust. Whereas Sonic tries to see the good in everyone, aka, Boy Scout Superman in a way. And obviously that you see the conflict. And one of the things I like is that you see the conflict in the ideologies as they go through with Sonic, with Shadow being like, he betrayed you, 9 betrayed you, you can't trust him, these aren't your real friends, we need to focus on completing the mission at hand type of mindset. And Sonic, who's like, listen, we can save everybody, everyone deserves a chance, I can still get through to 9, let me reason with him, let me keep on doing it. And initially you're like, Sonic, he's irredeemable, stop it. And the way that the season goes on, because, and one of the things that I think people criticize this, but I actually like this, where rather than hopping from world to world to world like the last 2 seasons and shifting, most of the season is spent in the Grim. You have sometimes where you go quickly back to New York, and they team up with the Egg Council, who obviously also don't want to be exterminated or don't be eradicated if obviously Nine has his way. So you see a nice team between the two groups who have to work together. Again, you see what makes Sonic a hero, and that like you find that I think it's on the pirate world that some of them didn't manage to come into a dome area, and Sonic, you know, goes out of the dome to try and rescue them to get them in, whereas obviously the other villains, i.e. their council, were like, no, let them be on their own, etc. And you see the heroic side, and so much rather appreciate this heroic side of Sonic more than the person who just saves the day without thinking, you know. So in the end, obviously, you know, so as you can see in the picture here, you get this final confrontation in the Grim. Nine, obviously, whose Tails sends wave after wave of robotic drones, and it doesn't seem to be working. Sonic fails to seem to get through to Nine, but thanks to good strategy, actually, he eventually overwhelms Nine, gets through to, eventually they get through to him when Sonic kind of realizes, listen, I'm not going to abandon you. I'm going to be there for you. I want to protect everybody. That is what I want. They get through to Nine, and eventually Nine realizes, you know, against all hope, what he's done. But unfortunately, at this point, the verse is unstable. Eventually, you realize that the prism energy needs to be transferred from Sonic back into the prism. Nine does that, but with the added risk that potentially Sonic could disappear. You find out that he has to go to essentially what his home dimension or home shatter space was, which is obviously Sonic, let's say Earth Prime, and it's a race against time, with Sonic seemingly disappearing and beginning to disappear. But for my man Shadow, hang on, Sonic, and you see literally Shadow the Hedgehog almost did saving Sonic's life and getting him back, and then obviously at the end everything reverts and goes back to normal, and you know what, and you see Sonic learning from his mistake, which is nice to see. But yeah, man, there were so many touching moments throughout the season. I mean, certainly seeing all the Amy's call each other sisters, I thought was great. Just a lot of the time, because there was a lot of growth with the, I mean, you know, Dredd was a bum. You know, you get a bit of redemption for his character because he was a greedy bum, but I still think he's a bum. But I like the development in the three Amy's, because Amy's a character that I feel that doesn't really get a lot of development, a lot of focus, and I liked over the 3 seasons that you saw, because each Amy was a different, I thought it was almost like a different aspect of the original Prime's character. Like, you obviously had the cold, mechanical Amy devoid of emotion, almost like metal Amy almost. Then obviously you had Pirate Amy that was kind of the sort of subservient, timid to Dredd, following orders, etc. And then obviously you had the more extreme, ambitious, volatile Amy in the sort of the jungle form Amy. And yet seeing how all those 3 grew in their individual way to realize their strengths, their weaknesses, and ultimately working together, being friends, and in the last scene you see them, you know, working together to save Sonic. I'm sure Prime Amy would be proud, but it was great seeing these individual characteristics. I would argue Amy was probably the best in terms of how they were all individually characterized and development that was given to each of them, you know. So because Big and Rouge are all maybe sort of side character stuff, although a New York Rouge and a New Knuckles Rouge I think were pretty good. The others were pretty forgettable, so but Amy definitely I think was great. And like I said, the Sonic and Shadow relationship, I think for me is one of the highlights of the season, quite frankly. This series, like I said, for me certainly ranks in the top 3 of Sonic seasons. We're hearing that it's probably not going to be, I think this is probably it, which is a shame, but it's certainly something that I will rewatch. Fantastic ending, fantastic characterization of certain characters, character growth, character development, and a relatively serious plot line over 3 seasons, which I think is something that this series has been missing for some time. So if you are new to Sonic, or if you're a Sonic fan, I personally think you should check it out from start to finish. Watch it all. It's all on Netflix. It's one of the most popular, I think, Sonic shows on Netflix. So yeah, get involved. So that's my season and series review. Let me know what you think about Sonic Prime in the comments. Remember, if you're new to the channel, to like, share, and subscribe to Red Marble. Follow us on Twitter and Twitch. Have a nice day, everyone. And cheers. Peace.